Okay, so now that I've read in my prediction POIDs, I need to import all the data that I generated from the other scripts that I will use to make those predictions. First thing I need to do is import my model and scalar files. So I'm going to make these into variables, change the function to load, and the method to read. Do the same thing for the scalar. Okay, so there's my model. I also want to import the list of words that I generated in this first script. Okay, remember I imported them also in here. Here I was generating the data for my training set. I want to use the same exact methodology to generate the data for my prediction set. Every time I use this model, I have to format my data in the same exact way as I did for my prediction. Okay, so here I can copy and paste the code I used to import these lists. So now I have these 5 pieces of data that I'm going to use to generate first data for my prediction set, and then use my model to predict those values. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is run through my zip file, take every data file that matches my predicted POIDs, and then extract the comments from that data file to train to predict with my model. And this is, in this case, the same exact process that we used in the first script, right? So I'm just going to copy and paste this code in the beginning, which basically takes my zip file, opens it, here's some kind of progress, feedback. It's going to take the POID, and it's going to check if that POID is in this list that's of interest to me. I'm going to take that code and paste it in here. And this time, instead of a target list, I have my prediction list, right, from before. So whenever it comes across a POID that's in this list that I want to predict on, it's going to run this code. Now when it reaches one of these POIDs, I want to do a similar thing to what I'm doing here. I want to basically read in the file, split the comment entries into this array, and then pop off the first example. So I'm just going to copy and paste that code back into here. Okay, so now we're working with the POIDs we're interested in, and we're looking at each entry. So now I'm going to get into each entry. I'm going to say for entry in entries. This is, remember, going through each check-in for each location. I'm going to use the same code from before to actually extract the comment from each entry. This is going to be my text variable. And what I'm going to want to do is use a very similar approach to what I did here to look through these two sets of words, right, in list and out list, and generate feature data that counts how many times those words appear. But before I make that kind of comparison, I want to actually decode that text into Unicode. So first I'm going to say if text is equal to the empty string, then continue. So this will effectively skip over any entries that don't have comments. Now I'm going to apply the same code as I did when I generated my training data. I'm going to take this piece of code here and then tab over to make sure that it fits within this loop structure. So here, as before, I'm generating a list of features for each comment. I'm going to initialize a count variable, look through each word in the in list, check if that word is in my current comment text. If so, I'm going to increment this count, and then at the end, once I've checked all the words in my in list, I'm going to append that count to my feature list. So in this case, what I want to do is, as I'm working through these, I want to make the predictions right away and then store my predicted value in my output file. Okay, so I don't need these big feature and target data sets I was generating earlier. What I'm going to do is just take that feature list, which right now is composed of an array of 2 features, and I want to actually use those features to make my prediction. Okay, so as before, the first thing we want to do is actually scale that feature, and this is why it's so important to bring in this scalar variable, because we're going to apply the transform function of that scalar variable to our new feature list array. And to make it usable with the scikit-learn library, we have to convert it into a NumPy array. Okay, so what we're doing here is whenever we come across a comment that came from our a POID in our prediction list, we run this code to generate the same kinds of features we did for our training data set. Then we scale that feature using the same scalar from before, and now we have this feature scale array that we're actually going to feed into our prediction function of our model.